What do we even mean by when we say the phrase spiritual awakening? That is a very common phrase in the collective sphere these days. So, what does it actually mean? Is it just some new spiritual, new age trend? Just by looking at the phrase itself, it means simply that, awakening to spirit. There also is an implication in that phrase. If you are awakening to spirit, that implies that one was asleep to spirit. There is an implication in that phrase that many of us are born into some kind of dream, essentially that we are asleep. And what are we asleep to? Generally, there are what I would consider two predominant frameworks of how most people in our world view or process their way through this world. What is their concept of reality? What is that framework that they tend to live by? One would be what I might call the materialist type of sense. Reality is only what can be perceived and measured by our primary senses. What can we see? What can we observe? Can it be measured? Essentially, from the kind of scientific point of view, if it can't be seen, if it can't be measured, if it can't be quantified, it doesn't exist. The other very common form of framework of processing this reality that we exist in would be more of the organized religion framework, where people tend to think, yes, there is a spiritual realm, spiritual experiences are real, there are spiritual beings, but they can only be experienced through intermediaries like a priest or a rabbi, and there are a lot of rules. Basically, it's a very strict box that you cannot escape from. You cannot move beyond that doctrine of what is acceptable in the spiritual realm. The vast majority of the world very often fits pretty closely to one of these two frameworks. Essentially, spiritual awakening is when someone begins to have a stirring from within and they begin to ask that question, what if there's more? What if there's more than what I've been told? What if there's more than what I've been taught? What if there's more than from what these standard frameworks are offering me? Essentially, spiritual awakening is awakening to the layers of reality that we are not yet trained to see.